All right, fellas, let's move on to the next topic. And we are going to go on to topic number 2. What it do? Tom Brady, the GOAT GOAT. You don't want no smoke. He came out with a statement about today's NFL being mediocre. And this is a very hot topic because a lot of greats responded to his comment. We are talking Barry Sanders. We are talking a lot of players, a lot of former players and high profile players. And it sparked a lot of conversation about today's NFL. So the question that we have presented at the bottom of the screen is Tom Brady right about today's NFL being mediocre? And Cuzzo, I want to hear from you first.
Yeah, he's right. Today's NFL is mediocre. Have a lot of reasoning why today's NFL is mediocre. But let's be fair and clear. It's not just today. The NFL that this process began in 2000. Just like the NBA became soft, that process began in the late 90s. Although the late 90s still was physical, in the early 2000s, the NFL was still very competitive. I mean, it was a different NFL, very physical NFL, but that process began then. So by the time we got to 2010, the NFL was mediocre. Changed already. This wasn't the same NFL, like you said, it's not 1999 anymore. It wasn't the same NFL I was watching for. And I'm showing my age again, that I watched in the full 80s and in the whole 90s. It was not the same NFL, right? Everything changed. The rules changed. The offense got highlighted at the highest of levels, where before it was about running the football, playing defense. Okay. And you had to be stout at every position and in backups, right? Because now we got a 53 man roster. Back in the day, just so y'all know, it was a 69-man roster. You was able to hold more players. Free agency changed everything, right? Because free agency, now people go everywhere. There was no free agency. You could build dynasties back then. Those Dallas Cowboys teams, so San Francisco 49ers teams, the 85 Bears, these teams was super, super tough and deep. They backups was no joke. So that's how the football teams, and that's how they used to look. Now we watered down. Right? We watered down. We expanded. When I first started watching NFL, it was only 28 teams. Then we had 32. We expanded. We watered out. It's very mediocre. The rules say so. You can't tackle. You can't hit. I understand about concussion syndrome and all that, but it was a different NFL. Okay? You can't hold the receiver. They used to be able to hold the receiver all the way down the field. All of these rule changes changed the NFL, where now it's not just about can you make athletic play. You know what I mean? Is anybody can get open. No disrespect to these wide receivers out here right now. They putting up crazy numbers, but anybody can get open. I want to see you get open if somebody can hold you all the way down the field and you got Ronnie Lott staring into your face that can knock you out of the game for the next 5 weeks. Okay? Let me see you go over the middle and catch that football then. Okay? You're not going to do that. So you're putting up crazy numbers. Everybody can throw the football. You coming straight out of college, you're putting up 4,000 or 5,000 yards. Okay. And that's why, to me, it's mediocre. When Tom Brady said it, I was like, absolutely. And he would know better because he was in the transition. He came into a very tough NFL. And I said that position, it started in 2000. That's his year. So when he got in the NFL, it was brutal. When he won those first three Super Bowls, it was brutal. These was tough teams. Go look at those scores. Go look at those championship games. These was tough games. Look at the last 3 Super Bowls. It was totally different. The NFL was totally different. Okay, and not that these games can't be close and you can't get 2 top teams and play great football, but the NFL as a whole was weak and watered down, and it became very mediocre, just like, no disrespect, the NBA.
Oh man, Zay, I would love to jump in here real quickly here. I'm probably gonna have a unique take on this. I don't even know where I'm gonna end up, to be honest with you, right? Because I think this is gonna take me on a journey. The bigger and more controversial the topic is, the more that Leel just goes into the world and just goes, and then you just gotta hold on until I get to my finish mark. And I think for me, when you talk about Tom Brady's comments, right? And obviously Tom Brady, I just want to make it clear, guy's a GOAT, GOAT GOAT. You don't want no smoke, okay? Now, I would say this, right? The NFL, you don't have, when I'm looking at the NFL today, right? I'm gonna dive into a lot. I'm gonna try to cut my take in half so my guy Zay could go and do his thing. I just think I don't see a team right now, and I can't speak for everybody. Maybe I see a team that you're like, oh yeah, that team going to win the Super Bowl. I don't see that team right now. I don't at all.
What?
The Eagles record is not really how they've been playing. Like they haven't been playing like a one-loss team, but they've been finding ways to win games, right? When I go back to Tom Brady and his teams, right? And we had some great teams that won championships, but I do remember that year in 2007 where we ran the table. Unfortunately, we lost in the Super Bowl, but we was undefeated. We dominated everybody. Okay, nobody was competing against us, right? That's not happening today. I remember the 72 Dolphins. Obviously, I don't, but I remember history because I wasn't born then, but they went undefeated. That's not happening right now, right? Yeah, we may get a team that put up 73. The Dolphins did, but they lose the week after or 2 weeks later. Like, I don't see a
Yeah.
team that's dominant, which means I see a team, NFL that has parity. Yeah, it may not be the most clean football, but it's parity. And I think right now, the NFL and those who are watching the NFL, today's NFL is being exposed for fans who are watching the league for entertainment to guys that are watching the game for the love of the game. What I mean by entertainment, I'm talking about quarterback play specifically,
Mhm.
because we could all agree that quarterback play is down. The quarterback play in the league right now, this year in particular, is not great, right? When you look at the injuries and the guys that's went down, Joe Burrow, Deshaun Watson, Aaron Rodgers, Kirk Cousins was playing the best football of his career, right? And then you have other quarterbacks who are struggling. Then you have some that's breaking out, but it's very few. It's like if you're watching the game because of quarterback, yes, we know that they're the lead actors in a reality show, right? In a movie, Denzel, right? Will Smith. We watch the movies to see Will Smith, Denzel, Tom Cruise. But what happens if Tom Cruise is not in that movie? Does it make it a bad movie? No, it's probably a good movie with a good script. It doesn't have the firepower to hold it down, to bring it out, right? You don't have that training day monologue. King Kong ain't got nothing on me. We don't have that right now. We are having quarterbacks who are struggling, getting hurt, but we are seeing defenses in the league today winning games. That Monday Night Football game, the Bears defense pretty much held it down and won the game. It was a low scoring game. We are seeing defenses winning games again. And that's partly in due to the NFL with the rule changes and the offense getting a lot of love. And you can't hit the quarterback, can't hit the wide receiver, the spread offenses. The defense was like, hold up, we got to survive. We about to be in stink. Okay, we got to adjust to Patrick Mahomes' offense. We have to adjust to, the Dolphins' offense. And now you have the two high safety looks. The explosive plays are down. We don't see it as much as before. So Tom Brady's the offensive guy. He want to see quarterback play because he was a former quarterback, right? In Barry Sanders' case, he was against what Tom Brady said. Why? Because Detroit has never been this good. Detroit wasn't good ever like that. They haven't won their division ever. Okay, since it became the NFC North, they're going to do that this year. So while in some ways the NFL is it mediocre a little bit, but we do have to mention the parity that's going on, and we do have to mention that there's no dominant team. So the defense is winning games this year, and when you take that in consideration, I'm not sure if Tom Brady's statement is 1,000% accurate, and that's how I leave my first lap.
I don't care if it's a hot take or not. I think Tom Brady's wrong. I think this is the most talented NFL we've seen in ever. And the reason being is because the rules and the penalties that the defenses face on a game-to-game basis, and the defense is still winning the games, is a big push for that. Offense got every rule for them to put up 30 and 40 a game. Every rule, from roughing the passer to holding, defensive pass interference, everything has been so lenient for the offense to push the ball down the field and score points. That's what the NFL agenda is. Score more points and vast majority as much as you can. They gave the gunslingers, the guy who throw the football 40, 50 times a game, the pass to just throw for 10,000 yards a season, essentially. And the offenses are failing this year. They're actually throwing a lot more picks this year, despite them having every rule for them. And most of these rules is because of Tom Brady. Nobody wants to talk about it, but most of these rules is because of Tom Brady. And most of these rules are because of the quarterback back then that were getting brutally hit in the pocket. That was sitting in the pocket, getting hit by Ray Lewis, by T. Suggs, by Ed Reed, by all these different guys that steal curtains. Everybody that used to get hit horrendously. These rules are in place because of them, because of the early 2000s, as Freddie said, because of everything that we saw and witnessed on live television, guys being concussed out for 5 to 10 weeks, star players being out, not being shown on primetime. So the NFL has protected these star players on offense tremendously. But right now, we're not seeing dominant offensive teams. We're seeing a surplus of great defensive teams right now. And that's crazy because everything is stacked against them. There's no defensive rule right now that's putting them in better positions. There's a rule right now in place. If you lean in with your helmet, you're getting fined $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 per game. So when we say the NFL is mediocre, it's not. The defenses are just so elite that they bypass every freaking penalty that's placed against them. They're basically on a handicap because you can't defend anymore. You have to run around with your hands tied to your hips because you can't move. You can't touch somebody. Illegal touching 5 yards. You can't hold somebody. Illegal holding, defensive pass interference. All these different things that are placed against the defenses, and they're still able to outcome that and defeat the Patrick Mahomes, the Josh Allens, the Tua Tagovailoas, all these different quarterbacks that love to throw the football. So when we call it mediocre, I don't know if we're saying that the offenses are mediocre, if the rules are mediocre, if the game is, but it's just that all of these talented players out here that have all these skills that we always talk about week to week are unable to score in a game where it's betted on them to score. The NFL has given them the green light to do whatever they want. The ball's going to move up the chains no matter what you do. And for whatever reason, they're unable to do it. And that's because the defenses and defensive players in today's world are so elite. They don't have to try to cheat the game to stop somebody. They don't have to hold somebody for 20, 30 yards to win the game. They don't have to headhunt to win the game. They can just do it by their natural skills and their natural talent. That's why I feel like it's one of the most skilled games of the team.
I got a question for you, right? I got to take questions.
Go ahead.
I do want to ask him this question though, and because feel free to ask that too. When you talk about, the defense and all that, right? Because clearly it falls kind of in line with my argument about adaptation, right? Survival instincts kick in. And we know the game is tailor-made for the offense to have success, for certain quarterbacks to win Super Bowls, right? And the defenses are at a fault. You can't hit the quarterback, can't hit the wide receiver, pass interference, it's spot foul, not 15 yards like in college. There's an instinct that kicks in, and then there's film and all right, we're gonna, our coverage and looks is gonna be different. We're gonna try to take away the big play. We have to survive, we have to make a play. My question to Zay and Cuzzo, do you think in some ways the NFL is making the NFL mediocre by the penalties that, you get, the, attack on celebrations a lot, all these things, nuances, things you can't, the quarterback low, you can't really even play football like that. Do you think the NFL is making the NFL mediocre?
Okay. There's a lot I got to say right here. That's a fair point. Part of the rules, and that's why I stress the rule change. Right, I stress the rule change because that also is making the NFL mediocre. But today, I have to address this immediately. Stop with this defensive talk. We got wide receivers about to break records that haven't been broken before. We got often people throwing for 5,000 yards almost every single year. There is not a team in the NFL defensively that could win a Super Bowl without a quarterback like back in yesteryear. I can name tons of teams that won Super Bowls defensively without a quarterback. There is not a team in the NFL this year, this NFL, that can win a Super Bowl without a quarterback. Okay, none. There is no such thing no more. So when you tell me about this defense being so great, you're wrong about this. Trust me. There is not a defense that can hold up to the Baltimore Ravens Super Bowl championship in 2000, or even the Tampa Bay Buccaneers of 2002. There's no defenses like that. It's not even close to no defenses like that. And I only want to go to the 90s because that's before your time, or the 80s because that's before your time. No. Everybody's breaking records offensively every single year. Tyreek is about to get 2,000 yards receiving. Are you kidding me? That's not an indictment on the offense not playing well. That's an indictment that the defense can't do nothing. And back to your point, cousin, that's rule changes. Because there is no way you're going to get 2,000-yard receivers if you can hold all the way down the field, or show physicality. Okay, lean on a person, hit a person over the middle. You can headhunt. You can. All of those things comes into play. You can hit a quarterback after 3 steps. All of this stuff. Quarterbacks was getting knocked out all the time in the 80s. Joe Montana, no disrespect, got knocked out of 3 playoff games, 2 championship games. This happened all the time. This was normal football for us. A quarterback surviving the whole season was like, oh, wow, that was great. Okay? So these things happen. So when you sit up here and tell me that the defense is just better this year, I'm like, no, it's not. Because people are scoring at a higher pace. You can go look up the numbers right now from the 80s to the 90s. They scoring much higher. They throwing for more yards. They running for more yards, and they catching for more yards. No, but the rule change have definitely made the NFL mediocre. Okay, they balanced it out. The defense at once upon a time dominated the offenses. They balanced it out. And that's basically what Tom Brady is saying. As he's watching this balance come out, he's going back to his early years. They ain't have it as hard as me because nobody, and they didn't. In the early 2000s, there is no teams has had it harder than those early 2000s in today's NFL. No. So he's like, they ain't have it hard as me. Remember, those rules came into play while he was playing. Hitting the quarterback low came into the rule while he was playing. Hitting the head in the head, hitting under the chin, that's why he was playing. So he actually played in the old NFL when you can hit in the knee, you can hit him under the chin, you can head on over the middle. That's what he's saying. That's all he's saying. That I played in a harder NFL. This is an easy NFL. That's all. I
feel like it's just easy for the man to talk about it when he was reaping the benefits of everything.
Well, he reaped the benefits.
Don't go there. Don't go there.
You know he reaped the benefits. You know that. Don't
go there, Zay. Because the Chiefs is doing the same thing. Patrick Mahomes is benefiting from the AFC West, bro. He won that division. Matter of fact, that has always been the case. How many years?
No,
exactly.
No, hold on a second, cousin. I'm sorry. You're 1,000% right about that. Patrick Mahomes has benefited this since day one. Tom Brady played like 12 years in the league before the rule changes really caught up. You understand what I'm saying? Like he played in a harder NFL, bro. We can't deny that. Like that's undeniable.
We're not saying it was a tougher NFL, but we're talking about this. The skill on both offense and defense is now we're seeing the skillfulness of the defense, because if you're able to evade all of those flags and still dominate offenses,
I don't see no domination though.
No, I look. I'm gonna try to jump in here, right? I'm in the middle, right? I see where Cousin was coming from, but I see where Zay is coming from, and I kind of lean more towards Zay because I think Zay is explaining it or trying to explain it like this. Yes, there's no dominant defense today, right? Like, yeah, the Browns were supposed to be. They was on their way to being a historically dominant defense early in the year. We can't forget about that. Okay, they were right there, and then they gave up some plays, the quarterbacks, and it happens, but they was on a historical pace. We can't forget about that. The Jets had made quarterbacks look silly all year. Patrick Mahomes, who's the best quarterback in the league, threw 2 interceptions, should have been 3, right? 2 interceptions don't even paint the full picture. Should have been 3 and 4. Justin Herbert threw none. I think he threw 1 interception in that game, but Tua threw 2. Jalen Hurts threw 3. They're making quarterbacks look silly. There's no dominant defense, but the defenses are winning games. There's a difference. It may not be no Chicago Bears, or still curtain defense, but they're winning games. There's a lot of games that I'm watching, and I'm just going based on how I feel, the feel of the game for me, where the defense actually won the game. Like they're low-scoring games with good quarterbacks.
This is how you got to end. This is how you got. You're phrasing it wrong. Because clearly we're talking about great, talented, athletic people. Defensively, you can win some games. But you got to ask yourself this question. Can you name that Cleveland Brown defense or the Jets? Can they win a Super Bowl without a quarterback? Because I'm naming teams that won Super Bowls without a quarterback. Trent Dilfer was the quarterback for the Baltimore Ravens. Who the heck is Trent Dilfer? That's what I'm talking about. That's how dominant their defense was. They can win without a quarterback and win against.
And that's a good point too. And that's why I'm in the middle. That's why I'm in the middle here.
You're Patrick Mahomes throwing those interceptions, but he still win the game.
Let's be real here, because this right here to me is too broad to really try to narrow it down. When you talk about this conversation that Tom Brady brought up, it's too broad, but I love it at the end of the day because it's really going to get the conversations flowing in different angles. I get it. But it goes back to my first lap with quarterback play, because quarterback play is a major difference here, right? Think about it. I get it. Joe Flacco won playoff games. He won a Super Bowl, right? But quarterbacks today is not like quarterbacks before, and that's because the NFL has dumbed down the playbook, and they are just talented, but don't have the IQ, don't have the clutch gene. But like I said, we can't look at the game from a quarterback perspective. Like, for example, if you look at it from a quarterback perspective, of course, it's going to be mediocre. Look at the quarterbacks that are being replaced. Right? Who's replacing Tom Brady in New England? Who's replacing Tom Brady from Tampa? Who's replacing Favre and Rodgers, Jordan Love, right? Who's replacing prime Cam Newton, right, in Carolina? Who's replacing Matt Ryan, who won a league MVP, almost won a Super Bowl? Who's replacing, Drew Brees in New Orleans? Who's replacing Ben Roethlisberger in the Steelers? Who replacing Eli Manning? Who's replacing those quarterbacks? Right? We don't have great quarterback play like how we once thought we was. We thought we was getting Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Lamar, Jalen Hurts. Oh, this is about to be lit. But really and truly, most of these guys are talented and they win games off of talent, but they don't have the intellect. And some of them are not clutch. Some are, and some are not. So if we're looking at things from entertainment, which is the quarterback, and that's why I went to the entertainment part. Yeah, Denzel is not in this movie. Okay, Joe Burrow's out for the year, right? But
okay.
that doesn't mean the movie is bad because he's not there, right? Quarterback play is the main thing, and Tom Brady's a former quarterback. So I think he's looking at it from a quarterback perspective, right? I don't think he's looking at it from the physicality aspect that you bringing up, right? I don't think he cares about the physicality because, yes, he did play in that era where it was like that and was leaving, but he also played in a soft era, and he didn't come out and talk about it being soft, right? So it's not about the physicality. I think it's mainly about the quarterback play. That's how I think he's looking at it.
Because hold up a second, man. We got quarterbacks now that is still high level. You named them. Lamar Jackson is a problem. Jalen Hurts is a problem. Patrick Mahomes.
They are, but let's keep it a bean. You know, Lamar Jackson still struggles in the fourth quarter, right? Jalen Hurts this year has been a little bit spotty as far as all four quarters of the game.
You can't go there. You can't go there with Hurts. Bro. He got a team to the Super Bowl, and he got a lot of comeback. He's a comeback dude this year. What are you talking about?
Do we have a definitive MVP right now?
That don't mean it's a bad quarterback play.
No, because normally in every year, just like how we had one dominant team, we had a clear MVP. And I think for me, what I feel based on me watching the game, it's a different game than I'm watching. Like last year and the year before, I felt like I was watching, these quarterbacks about to go at it. You know, Joe Burrow, Tom Brady, Mahomes. It's about to go down. And I look forward to those games because of quarterback play. Now I'm having to adapt the way how I watch the game now. I have to, because I love explosiveness. But then you got the Steelers out here 7-4 with one of the worst offenses in the league, but they winning games and they mad boring to watch. I'm being forced to accept the love of the game more so than the entertainment. And that's why I started off that way about entertainment, quarterback play, and the love of the game, because I'm being forced to love special teams and defense and a game being low scoring, right? It can't be high octane. And I'm learning and I'm liking it too. I'm like, I can dig it because I'm being forced to show my own love of the game in general. And that's my life.
That's the NFL I grew up on, man. Low scoring, defensive struggles. I mean, that's what we used to watch. I mean, the Joe Montana, they won back-to-back Super Bowls. They played the Giants in the championship game at Candlestick, and the Giants won the game. Okay, 15-13. The Giants hit all field goals. Okay, and we thought that was I thought that was the greatest game I've ever seen. And I will tell you, from a Hall of Fame talent perspective, on the field at one time in their prime, that's the best game I've ever seen from that perspective. From a Ronnie Lott to a Jerry Rice to a Lawrence Taylor. Everybody's in their prime, and they was going at it hard body. It was something to see, but the score was 15-13.
Yo, cousin, one more point, and then I'm officially done. Zay, if you have any last words, by all means. So I got a point that just came to me, right? Because clearly there's an adjustment period going on for, and I know that football because I studied it. I didn't live it, but I studied it. So I know that game. I know that style of football that was being played. But, the prime of me watching the game was this, number one scoring team winning the Super Bowl, like Kansas City did last year, right? And it's not the same this year. But I would argue if the NFL, because you're saying that, the NFL offenses are still scoring points, which is fair, but that's because of the rule changes. If the rules were still the same, like back then, 1,000%. Will this be a different NFL, that the NFL that you knew about before? I think so. So I think it goes back to the NFL making the NFL mediocre with the rule changes.
No, listen, real quick, and my bad, Zay, real quick. If this is no disrespect to Patrick Mahomes or any one of these guys, any one of these quarterbacks, if the rules was what it was back in the day, first of all, they wouldn't be scrambling because they'll get killed. They'll be done. They'll be finished. The way they can hit, it was totally different. They wouldn't survive. Their bodies wouldn't survive. The pain that you can take, not just after you throw a pass, you can still get hit. The way they was doing those quarterbacks back then was no joke. Steve Young ended his career on Monday Night Football by Aeneas Williams, gave him a hit under the chin after he threw the ball, and it was no flag. Ended Steve Young's career on Monday Night Football. The NFL had to stop that, and that's what they did.
Kurt Warner, same thing with the Saints defense, ended his career with that hit, never recovered, still feeling the effects of that today. Right? Brett Favre, I agree.
please like and subscribe for all the up-to-date content. You've been slinging shows left and right, slinging content left and right. Please don't miss anything. If you do, like, subscribe, leave a comment, leave a question, something you may want to answer, something you may have. All ideas are great ideas. Nothing's a dumb question.